This is where people are gonna be like, oh my God, I can't believe you're gonna use this stuff.
Oh my God, I can't believe he's going to use that stuff.
Say, yeah, but it works.
It doesn't work.
The design of my fence means that I don't have to be exactly perfect.
That seems to be maybe the motto of the channel, is nothing's ever exactly perfect.
Yeah, I'm about...
That's how my kid measures things. He just goes, whoop, right. It wasn't quite. Okay.
The way this works is for best effect. You get it in the dirt.
For best effect, drive it a couple inches into the dirt.
Today's video is brought to you by our good friends over at Nationwide Industries, the Fence Pros' #1 choice. And they are this Fence Pros' #1 choice for a couple reasons. One, we love using their Keystone Traverse latches. They're easy to install. You simply bolt them onto the post. No drilling for rods or cutting the rods required. It's a pretty straightforward installation process. We also love using their full line of galvanized hardware. It shows up quickly and reliably. All right, guys, today's video is titled Building a Backyard Privacy Fence with My Son, and it's the one and only Home RenoVision DIY. If you've watched the channel for any length of time, you've already seen our interactions with this channel already. It is what it is. If you'd like to see my opinion, you could watch any one of those videos. This is actually a longer video, so it's 57 minutes. We're not going to do a 57-minute reaction, so what we're going to do is try to break this up into bite-sized chunks. And of course, he shows the complete process, so there's definitely several steps in the video. The first one brings us to about 4 minutes into the video. They've taken a sod cutter and removed the top layer of grass off. He explained that they're going to be doing putting gravel in. Kind of an interesting thought. So using a string line, which if you guys are fence builders, there's some of you that love string lines and there's some of you that hate string lines. So let me know what your thoughts are on that. Here we go. So it's interesting seeing them use landscape stakes. I mean, this is, I think, the third or fourth fence we've watched him build. For like a homeowner DIY, I mean, they're cheap, so they'd be a great option. Most fence contractors or even handymen like Jeff that build fence on the side, they make steel rods. I mean, they're for concrete forms, but typically most fence guys would use those. They're reusable. You don't have to worry about them splitting or just degrading over time.
So now what we're gonna do is marker off our 8-foot sections.
So he's using orange paint. If you've watched the channel, you know we've done reaction videos of where people use different colored paint. So I would assume Canada would be the same as the United States in their color marking codes. Maybe they're not. Feel free to correct me. Orange is typically telecommunications. White is a designated color officially for proposed excavation, so it would be most appropriate for marking the lines for this. Now, Jeff and his son are obviously doing the work themselves, but when you're training a crew, you really want to train them to avoid digging on orange paint because there's typically telecommunications. And if Jeff were to hit a line, they could see the orange paint as an indication that utilities were there. Circle it. They like to circle it with their white paint, take a picture of it. Jeff could be liable for hitting that utility even though it wasn't properly marked. I guess this is probably 6 of one, half dozen another, but you could really just bring your tape out to 10 feet and have your helper move with you.
16, and 8 is 24. Oh, that's the 25-foot, and that goes to the end.
Close enough, I guess. This is what we would call the remainder, right? So we have equally spaced sections, in this case 8 foot apart, and then the last section is not 8 feet. Jeff didn't measure it, so we're assuming it's something less than 8 feet. But there's an equal spacing method, which is you would take the total length of the fence, divide it by however many sections you get that are less than 8 feet to get your equal post spacing, so that it's a visually appealing fence. If it's a traditional privacy fence, one side is going to be facing the road, right? So either the smooth side or the finished side, but one side's going to see the structure, either the road or his son, who they're building this fence for. You'd like the visual appeal of having the post spaced equally, I would think. Let me know in the comments below. Do you prefer equal spacing or remainder?
Now, I am cheating just a little bit for simplicity. The design of my fence means that I don't have to be exactly perfect.
That seems to be maybe the motto of the channel, is nothing's ever exactly perfect. But if you start with a great product in mind at the beginning of the project, usually you've got a better shot at it working out there at the end.
Okay, now we don't want to go in the middle. We want to go a couple inches back, just a couple inches.
So one thing they could have done when the string line was up is they could have marked the exact position of that. It's going to be a single-sided privacy fence. You're going to have the posts, the rails, and the pickets. If you say your 2x4s are typically 1.5 inches, your 1-inch pickets are typically 5/8. I mean, you could measure 3 inches, 4 inches off of that string line to get your approximate post edge, and then you would know a little bit better where to mark it. The tendency here then is for the holes to come offline. If you're saying, just a couple inches, each hole is going to vary. And so when you look down your line, you're going to see the holes wander a bit. I would be more inclined to run the line exactly where you want the holes, do your measurements ahead of time, mark your cross sections, but also mark your string line so you have X marks a spot, every hole, and exactly where you want the center of that hole to be. Maybe they're going to go back and clean those holes out, but that did not look very deep. It also didn't look very rocky. Looked like pretty good dirt.
What we're going to do is we're going to dig all the holes with this auger to where I get down to my knees. If I'm digging beneath my knees, that's a lot of hard work. We have an extension, so we'll dig all of our holes to about our knees, and then when we're done, we'll take the pin off, we'll add the extension, so we don't have to work so bloody hard trying to dig that bottom of that hole out.
It'd also make it incredibly hard to figure out exactly what your post depth is. I mean, to your knees isn't exactly a measurement that you could measure off of. I don't know. You know, this fence is being built in Canada. You want to make sure it gets under the frost line. Hopefully he's going to measure the holes and clean them out to depth later.
We are using 10-foot 4x4s to make a 6-foot fence because we generally dug 4-foot holes. That leaves you 6 feet sticking out of the ground. Depending where you live, your code is different. Middle America, you guys are dealing with like a 2-foot, 2.5-foot code depending on your soil conditions. All right, and because you don't get as much frost. That's really all it is.
Well, there's more to it than that. I mean, ASTM standards is 30 inches or 6 inches deeper than the frost line. So the frost line isn't all that comes into play.
We're digging a hole. It should have some texture to it. Whatever you're using, concrete or foam, it'll bond to that texture. And as the ground freezes, it's going to try to lift. But as long as there's more posts underneath the frost line, there's resistance because you can't lift something. It's got resistance, right?
Which is typically the argument for belling the holes, right? You bell the hole out so it's wider at the bottom than the top, so it does have that resistance. Also confused on how deep these holes are. So before he said they're going to try for 3 feet, sometimes it's 4 feet. Sometimes the frost gets to 4 feet deep. He's probably going to end up trimming these posts. So you'd want to actually set 5'6" out. Well, it depends what your reveal is. We use a 6-inch reveal, so 5'6" out of the ground is where you'd want them to end up at.
One in this corner. Oh, yeah, I'm about.
That's how my kid measures things. He just goes whoop right. It wasn't quite. Okay.
I'm about 3.5 feet in there.
He's what? Let's say Jeff is 6 feet tall. There's 3 feet left above him. Maybe it's 2 feet. That post, he said it's a 10-foot post. There's no way that post is 4 feet in the ground. I mean, or 3 foot. Oh man, I don't know. You would want to measure it, obviously. How deep do you think this post is? Let's say that.
One there, one in that post. Okay, we'll brace these three first. Drop a string line across the bottom and across the top. All right, this is the key. We want to get the inside corners and the ends all leveled, framed, braced up, and then string lined so that when we put the next post in, if we only have one string line at the bottom, it's like, yeah, it's a perfect spot. And it'll be sitting like this. You
do want to use a level. I absolutely agree. The bracing, professional contractors don't use bracing. They would make sure with a level, both faces of the post are plumb at the top of the post. Make sure the entire post is plumb while they're pouring their concrete.
So this is the corner post level system.
So that level is very good at telling you the plumb at that exact location. But the problem is it's only giving you a sample size of that small area, 6 or 8 inches, however tall this level is. You'd want to use a taller level. 4-foot levels or 6-foot levels best. 4 foot, I think, is adequate so that you're measuring the plumb of the entire post rather than just that small section.
We have these 2x4s here that are going to be going horizontal, right? The funny thing is, there's 8 sections of fence that get 2x4s in each section.
So, I mean, we'll see the finished build later on in subsequent videos, but I'm hoping for a 6 foot tall fence, there's 3 stringers, 3 2x4s per panel instead of 2, but you never know, we'll see.
Up every single post until our posts are set, okay? So we can't build on the posts until they're set. So we might as well use these as our brace in the meantime. That avoids using extra material and fussing around with 1x2s that are always going to split on you when you try driving a screw.
I mean, he mentions nobody in the real world uses 1x2s. I don't know fence contractors that use 2x4s. I mean, if it seems like a lot of extra work to avoid having somebody hold that post and plumb and verify it while it's setting. If we're talking about no one in the real world does a thing, I don't know that many professional contractors do it this way.
Just above the halfway mark. There.
Guessing how deep this post is set. That's an 8 foot 2x4, and it looked like it was about as tall as that post was when he just held it up in the air and tried to just drive it into the ground. I'm guessing that post is probably closer to 2 feet deep.
All right. Now, hold on. No. The way this works is for best effect, you get it in the dirt.
For best effect, drive it a couple inches into the dirt. Right now, just hand driving these things a few inches into the ground is not going to keep it from moving away from them, which defeats the whole purpose of this idea.
What we're going to do now is visually check to make sure that our holes are going to have enough room for our posts.
So keep in mind, this is where that move a couple inches off the string line thing is going to come into play. We'll see how many of his holes are spot on.
Great example. In this position, each of these posts are in the middle of their holes. This is supposed to be the front side of the post. So that doesn't have enough room. That maybe would get away with it. That maybe get away with it. But by repositioning these 2 posts just a little closer to the front, we get all these holes in a row.
So by marking, by running your string line on exactly where you want your post to be, rather than trying to fudge off a few inches or something, you could really save yourself a lot of labor. And now he's got to probably either redig these holes, hopefully, or he's just going to move the post closer to the front of the hole. Not ideal. Save yourself some effort. Do it right the first time. Run your string line exactly where you're wanting the center of your post to be. Do some measurements on the beginning. It'll be a little bit more time in the beginning, but hopefully it saves you time in the long run by making sure the holes are exactly where you want them drilled and they're exactly in line with each other.
We have clay soil here. So what that means is whenever we get water, it sends the water horizontally, okay? There's no way to dig a hole and keep it dry in this soil condition. Every post we put in the ground is going to be wet at the bottom of the post, regardless of what we do. So there's no way to keep it dry. If I put in a rock, if I have to fill all the gravel, whatever I do, all right? I could put a plastic bag over this. It'd be about the only possibility, but it's gonna get wet.
I would probably suggest using a product similar to like a post saver maybe. It's heat shrinked and it uses bitumen. The bitumen heats up and actually forms a barrier between the outer layer and that post. Would be better than wrapping it in a plastic bag.
So we use the right rating, we just stick it in a hole, and we adjust our mindset for our expectation. It's not a 100-year fence, okay? Most fences, if you're lucky, go 25 years.
I would love to see this fence make it 25 years. It would be great to see any sort of 1 year, 2 year look back on the last few fences Jeff's built. I mean, he's done videos where he glues them together and holds them together with brad nails and just silly stuff like that. I think it would be a stretch to think these fences are going to last, more than 4 or 5 years, especially that corner post that might be 2 foot in the ground when he says that their frost line is 3 or 4 feet. No, I agree. This is not a 100-year fence. Absolutely.
We're just going to let you know. Posts go in holes and they rot.
Unless you use steel posts. But we're not here for that. We're talking about wood posts. They will rot unless you take the right precautions.
For the sake of time to get this job done today, first thing we're going to do is we're going to set these 2 posts, and then we'll keep on leveling the rest of the posts. And as we level every 2 posts, we'll open another bag and we'll install our post setting compound. Now, this is where people are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you're going to use this stuff.
Oh my God, I can't believe he's going to use that stuff.
Say, yeah, but it works.
It doesn't work. If you watch the channel, you've seen the video. Now, there's no telling, again, how deep these holes are, how wide they are. It looks like a pretty narrow, shallow hole. It might work well. You know, we're going to stop this video here. We're going to pick up in a later video to watch Jeff's reaction to Sika Pro Select. This video so far has been just get it done the cheapest, easiest way. So maybe it'll work for him. If you'd like to watch our video on our reaction to the Sika Pro Select or us using the Sika Pro Select, we'll link it up here somewhere. To watch the subsequent reaction videos to see just exactly how Jeff pulls off this fence, be sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you get notified when the new reaction video comes up next time. For now,
Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors, and I'll see you next time.